Hi ATL, I'm Holly Coddington, and this is my video reflection for year two. So I'm just going to kind of go through what I'll be looking for in the video and why I chose the lesson I did. So I'm going to be looking at a lesson I did during the pandemic in which I am comparing or discussing how Kanye West transforms the music of Chaka Khan into his own song and poem. So the way I did that during the pandemic is I had the slideshow that you will see, and it was Pear Deck slides. This is when the kids were at home. So Pear Deck allowed me to see everything that they were doing in real time on my end. So I really liked that. I thought it worked really well. I also found that the music was engaging. I think it still is. And then I incorporated a podcast, which talks or pretty much analyzes Kanye's song and has some moments where it does some pretty in-depth analysis structurally in a way that I would love to see them write in an essay. So what I'm looking for in this video is I am not using Pear Deck slides. So the kids are jotting down all of their notes. I have the lyrics printed out for them to annotate while they're listening to the song, hoping that that will engage them a little more during the music so they don't just zone out. And then I also have questions that they're answering during the podcast. So I'll let it play for 5 minutes and then they have some sort of question that they need to answer. My hopes with that is that they don't just completely zone out. So I'm just going to kind of be looking and seeing if the way I'm utilizing technology and media is working in this lesson. And then I also kind of just wanted to look at my own demeanor. Am I smiley and approachable, or do I look stressed out? This is the day before spring break. So my guess is I look a little stressed out, but we will see. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for, and I'm going to record the lesson and I will catch up with you guys on the other side to analyze it and see how it went. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Look in your eyes and I can see it's love so dangerously. You're not trusting your heart to anyone. You tell me you're gonna play it smart. We're through before the start, but I believe that we've only just begun. When it's this good, there's no saying no. I want you so ready to go. Through the fire,
theme? What is this about? What is her message? Okay, great. Risking it all for someone you love.
Somebody through the bad times, like even if they're like fighting or they're like rough patch, they still love each other.
Great. So in that case, through the fire is not literal, right, Charlotte? So what do you guys think fire symbolizes?
Like the bad times.
Okay, great.
Like fights.
Yeah, arguments, fights, so any kind of like test to the relationship. So she says, she starts it out in the first stanza. I look in your eyes and I can see you loved so dangerously. You're not trusting your heart to anyone. You tell me you're gonna play it smart. We're through before we start. So in this relationship, how does the person she cares about feel initially? You tell me you're gonna play it smart. We're through before we start. What does that mean?
Like doesn't want to open up to her.
Yeah.
She's been hurt before.
Great. So initially in this relationship, this person is not willing to really give it a chance. But then she says, but I believe that we've only just begun, through the fire to the limit to the wall. So she's going to do what, Jude? Even though he does not want to be vulnerable and participate in this relationship, she thinks what? She disagrees with them, right? So through the fire to the limit to the wall, for a chance to be with you, I'd gladly risk it all. So she's going to do whatever it takes to make this work. As far as tone, what would you guys say the tone is in this? Devoted. I'll go with that. What else?
Like she wants them to trust her. No, I don't know what that is. Like trust her, but like not on his part, her part.
Maybe determined.
Determined.
Because she is determined to get him to trust her, or to at least try. So yeah, you could say determined, longing, maybe passionate. Okay, so that's the source material for Through the Wire by Kanye. So you guys, now we're gonna watch this. Look at your lyrics. See what you can observe here.
What's the new video?
It's yours, it's Kanye West's video. Okay, can I get some change?
Yo, Chief, you can't stop me from rapping Kenny. Kenny, I spit it through the wire, man. Too much stuff on my heart right now, man. I can't get this shit on right now. It's a life or death situation, man. Y'all really understand how I feel right now, man. It's your boy Kanye Titter. Shot-town, what's going on? Yeah, I drink a boost for breakfast, an insure for dessert. Somebody order pancakes, I just sip the scissor. That right there could drive a sane man berserk. Not to worry, Mr. Ace to the Ills back to Wizard. I do console my mom, give her light support, telling her son's on life support. And just imagine how my girl feel on the plane, scared as hell that her guy looked like Emmett Till. She was with me before the deal, she been trying to be mine. She ain't Delta, so she been throwing that dynasty sign. No use me trying to be lying, I've been trying to be signed, trying to be a millionaire. How I used 2 lifelines in the same hospital where Biggie Smalls died. The doctor said I had blood clots, but I ain't Jamaican, man. Story on MTV, and I ain't trying to make a band. I swear this right here is me in the making, man. I really apologize to everyone right now. If it's unclear at all, man, they got my mouth wired shut for like, I don't know, the doctor said like 16 minutes.
Hey, you wanna get in an accident? Drop it on broken arm. Without an arm or spit. Without an arm or spit. Without an arm or spit.
I'm still here for y'all right now, man. This is what I got to say right here, though. Yeah. Turn me up, yeah. What if somebody from the shadow was ill? Got a deal on the hottest rap label around. But he wasn't talking about coke and birds, it was more like spoken word. Except he's really putting it down. And he explained the story about how blacks came from glory and what we need to do in the game. Good dude, bad night, right place, wrong time, in the blink of an eye. His whole life changed. If you could feel how my face felt, you would know how Mace felt. Thank God I ain't too cool for the safe belt. I swear to God, drive a 2 on a sue. I got a lawyer for the case to keep us in my safe. My dogs couldn't telefy. It looked like Tom Cruise on Vanilla Sky. It was televised. In an accident like Geico. They thought I was run up like Quincy did Michael. I must got Angel, cause look how death missed his ass. Unbreakable, what you thought they come in Mr. Glass? Look back on my life like the ghost of Christmas past. Toys R Us where I used to spend that Christmas cash. And I still won't grow up, I'm a grown ass kid. Swear I should be locked up for stupid that I did, but I'm a champion. So I turn tragedy to triumph. Make music that's fire, get my soul through the wire. You know what I'm saying? When the doctor told me I had a plate in my chest, I said, dog, don't you realize I never make it to a plane now? It's bad enough I got all this jewelry on. You can't be serious, man.
Okay. So this is very different. So you guys, what did you get for the theme for this one?
Like talking about
Yeah. Yeah, he's talking about his jaw. He's talking about a literal accident he got in, where his jaw was wired shut. So if he's saying through the wire, what do you think the wire could symbolize? So on the literal level, it is like wire. And then what else could it symbolize?
Telephone.
like somebody telling or something keeping him back from needing to speak his mind.
Great. So something keeping him back. And how did you know? I like the part where you said speak his mind, Charlotte. How did you know that like speech had something to do with that? Yeah, because it's literally his mouth. So it makes sense that he would use that symbol of like, you know, a wire in his mouth for people who've tried to silence him. And we know that it's not only his career, right? Because he has lots of references to being a black man. Did you guys catch any of these?
Emmett Till.
Emmett Till, great. Who is Emmett Till?
He was a 15-year-old, right?
14, but yes.
Killed and murdered in the South.
Yeah, so you guys, he's 14. He was horrifically tortured and murdered by a bunch of white men for talking to a white woman. He became kind of a symbol of the civil rights movement. His mom, interestingly, had an open casket funeral. She insisted on it so that, because she wanted people to face what they had done to her son. She wanted it to be visible. Yeah, really, really sad. So he references that. He references Biggie Smalls. He has a ton of references, also known as also an illusion. You guys know that term illusion, right? In literature? Okay. What would you say the tone is here? Because it's very different. In fact, this is before Kanye was awful. And the tone here is, what would you say? Before he lost his mind.
Did you see the Instagram post?
Yes, I did see his Instagram post.
Oh,
So see, he's if you can answer what the tone is.
21 Jump Street said that Jonah Hill makes him not a Jew. Jonah Hill is funny.
Oh my God, bless his
I mean, that is what he does, but what would you say the tone is? You guys here, this kind of gives it away. When the doctor told me I was going to have a plate in my chin, I said, dog, don't you think
I didn't realize. Now, didn't you realize I'll never make it on the plane now? It's bad enough I got all this jewelry on. He's talking about, you know, getting pulled over by the metal detector. Like, what kind of tone is that? It's like annoying. Maybe. But also kind of lighthearted, right? Like, he's making fun of himself, which we don't see a lot in Kanye's career, but he's kind of, this is a lighthearted poem, kind of. He's talking about, I drink a booze for breakfast and Ensure for dessert. Somebody ordered pancakes. I just sip the scissor because he can't chew. Like, that's kind of funny. So, his rhymes in here, his references, like, it's kind of lighthearted. He's being kind of funny. Okay, Jude, you can go if you want. Okay, guys, so we are gonna, you're getting graded on this. It's your last grade other than the presentations tomorrow. So I'm gonna play a podcast. You guys, all you have to do is listen to it. It talks about this song. There are questions, though, you need to jot down on this paper in this little column here. They're very easy, guys. These questions are not going to stress you out. Okay. You'll see them up here. So just follow along, listen, be ready to answer the questions.
But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance Group.
A new way to nitro is here. Try the new Starbucks Cinnamon Caramel Cream Nitro Cold Brew. Flavored to perfection with delicious notes of cinnamon and caramel. Smooth, creamy.
Unmatched determination and unique production style. It was production so good it landed Kanye a record deal with Rockefeller, who signed Kanye as a rapper
so we're right
only
here,
to
guys.
secure his beats within their camp.
If you want to follow along, and this
On
is a
October
question.
23rd, 2002, just 2 weeks after his deal with Rockefeller was announced, Kanye was in LA working as a producer for Beanie Siegel and the Black Eyed Peas. Working late into the night, Kanye left the studio around 3 a.m. and fell asleep at the wheel while driving back to his hotel. He swerved into the opposing lane and collided headfirst into an oncoming car. Kanye's face buckled against the steering wheel. His jaw was broken in 3 places, his nose fractured, his face so swollen that his own mother, Donda West, barely recognized him. Kanye underwent reconstructive surgery, his jaw wired shut for 3 to 6 weeks. Kanye told MTV, quote, "The accident was so painful. The first 2 or 3 days were like some of the worst pains in my life. I would not wish this on anybody, except maybe 3 people. I had so much blood coming out of my mouth. Every 20 minutes I'd have to have one of them suction type things. There would be so much mucus and blood." When he checked out of the hospital just days after surgery, he had recording equipment sent to his hotel room. He'd immediately begin working on his album. The sense of urgency was palpable. Kanye's friend Don C. said, quote, "It was almost like the album was the nurse that came to visit him at his sickbed." Just 2 weeks after his accident, and with his mouth still wired shut, Kanye would record Through the Wire, the song that would ultimately launch his rap career, as well as a long lineage of hip-hop production, the foundation of which is a technique called sampling. Sampling takes excerpts, or samples, of pre-existing recordings and repurposes them as sounds for a new piece of music. The practice has its
So you
roots in the
guys,
19th.
you guys got that first question, right? You need to be answering this. So why was Through the Wire significant? Yeah, it launched his career. Before this, Kanye was, like, people didn't really know about him.
1950s. Composers manipulated small splices and bits of analog magnetic tape, creating abstract rhythmic patterns or dense layers of sound called tape loops.
Yeah, this is sampling so connected to hip hop.
The technique would find its way into the experimental underpinnings of 1960s popular music. The quote-unquote hidden track at the end of the Beatles' seminal album Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band famously makes use of a cryptic backwards playing tape loop. Sampling as we know it today really took off in the 1980s, when technology advanced and digital sample machines became affordable. The technology coincided with the rise of hip-hop music, and soon sampling became the fundamental element of hip-hop production. Producers sampled small chunks of music, sped those samples up or slowed them down, creating a loop beneath which strong percussion or electronic drum patterns were laid. Often producers would use multiple samples from diverse sources, creating a collage of layered sound. As an example, let's take a look at the extremely influential track Planet Rock of 1983 by African Bambaataa. On top of this loop, Bambaataa interjects various samples from a handful of source jazz standards, sung by the likes of The Formation.
Yeah.
Music machines, music computers, processing the information of our past and spitting out something new. The composer or modern producer becomes collagist, a curator of musical documents, seamlessly synthesizing generations and genres, creating at once something familiar yet foreign.
Oh, sorry guys, we gotta go back because there's an important
The
part here.
foundation of new. The melodic and harmonic structures undergo a metamorphosis, and something entirely new but familiar is born. We could spend countless hours proving this point, but I hope it's clear by now that sampling is part of music history's long lineage of borrowing, of reinterpreting, of creating something new with something old. I'd also point out that much of hip-hop was and continues to be created by men and women from impoverished backgrounds who may not have the resources to study music in a traditional way, and who may feel those traditions don't reflect their background or artistic expression. Lastly, and I think this one is pretty important, music has and always will reflect the times in which it was created. And if you were forced to name one defining feature of our generation, of the last 20 to 30 years, I think we'd all agree that thing is technology, or specifically the internet. And what is the internet but instantaneous, organized access to immeasurable amounts of information? Isn't sampling in some way a metaphoric gesture and reflection of this? Music machines, music computers, processing the information of our past and spitting out something new. The composer or modern producer becomes collagist, a curator of musical documents, seamlessly synthesizing generations and genres, creating at once something familiar yet foreign. Plus,
Okay, so let's go back because I'm not sure you guys got the question. So is sampling still used in hip hop?
Yes.
Yeah, and how and why?
They developed at the same time. Because sampling became popular, so did hip hop, so they gradually became associated with each other.
Great, and
Hip hop relies on it.
absolutely. So hip hop, the reason I'm doing all these hip hop songs is one of the fundamental tenets of hip hop is transforming sampling. So literally what a lot of the music does is takes some kind of music and transforms it into something new. And I think what's really notable about this is part of why this came about is it was inexpensive. So this was a lot of people that didn't have a lot of background. They didn't have access to necessarily music education. So they just started creating their own with technology and synthesizers and things like this. Cool. So you guys, for this one, you're looking for what song does Kanye's Through the Wire sample? You guys already know.
it just sounds good. And isn't that most important?
Yo, G, they can't stop me from rapping, can they? Can they, huh? I spit it through the wire, man.
And it's here that we come full circle, back to Through the Wire, written and produced by Kanye West. Like most hip-hop producers, Kanye's production style makes heavy use of sampling. Specifically, Kanye's early sound became known as chipmunk soul, as he'd often speed up samples from soul music until the vocals reached an extremely high register, resembling Alvin and the Chipmunk cartoon voices. Through the Wire makes heavy use of Chaka Khan's Through the Fire of 1984. Of course, the
So you guys
wordplay
can
here is
answer
quite
that.
clever, as Through the Fire becomes Through the Wire, alluding to Kanye rapping with his mouth wired shut. Through the Wire begins with an introduction and opening hook that mirrors exactly the last hook on Through the Fire. Let's hear the two tracks back to back. First, Chaka Khan. Kanye samples this piece essentially as is, but pitches it up 4 semitones until it becomes this. Behind this sample, Kanye layers drums from Outkast's Players Ball remix, snippet of Through the Fire just after the last hook is performed. Kanye takes this snippet, still pitched and sped up, and creates a 4-bar loop. Behind this, Kanye drops the Outkast drum loop used on the hook and creates an original pattern using a kick drum, those early Kanye crispy claps, hi-hats, and bongo drums. An original bass line fills out the low end, and together we get Through the Wire's verses. The 2 large sections we just examined, the verse and the hook, comprise Through the Wire's entire musical foundation. And while its compositional makeup seems somewhat simple, just 2 samples, drums and bass, I would again argue that it takes a unique ear to hear this and transform it into this.
I spit it through the wire, man. Too much stuff on my heart right now, man. I gotta get this job right now. It's a life or death situation, man. Y'all don't understand how I feel right now, man. It's your boy Kanye too.
Now we turn to Through the Wire's lyrics and delivery. In the song's introduction we just heard, Kanye's voice is muffled and slurred due to his mouth being wired shut. The line, "They can't stop me from rapping," obviously refers to the wires he's speaking through, but also to the struggle Kanye's endured attempting to launch his rap career. The metal wire attempting to force his mouth shut becomes a metaphor for the naysayers, his peers that laughed at his demos, and the major label A&Rs who chose not to sign him. And yet, in spite of his critics, in spite of a near-fatal car crash, Kanye perseveres, so dedicated and passionate that he spits it through the wire. As the introduction/opening hook continues, Kanye plays off Chaka Khan's lyrics, which are "Through the fire, to the limit, to the wall, for a chance to be with you. I gladly risk it all through the fire, through whatever come what may." While Chaka Khan is talking about a man or lover, Kanye's reinterpretation of the lyrics speaks for his desire for rap stardom. Between Chaka Khan's words, Kanye says, "I spit it through the wire. There's too much stuff on my heart right now. I gladly risk it all right now. It's a life or death situation." Again, Kanye uses double meaning in risking it all and a life or death situation. These words could easily apply to the near fatal car crash he was in 2 weeks prior, and his refusal not to only rest, but aggressively use his voice while his mouth is wired shut. But it would seem Kanye is also expressing the urgency he feels after his car accident, knowing his life can be taken from him at any moment. Through the Wire continues
This is
with
the
verse
last
1,
one, you guys.
which
Don't
contains
worry,
nearly
it's
all the
almost
hallmarks
over.
that the public would come to love with early Kanye. Honesty, confidence, cleverness, witty pop culture references, and comedic self-deprecation.
Yeah, I drink a boost for breakfast and insure for dessert. Somebody order pancakes, I just sip the scissor. That right there could drive a sane man berserk. Not to worry, Mr. Ace to the Izzles back to Wizard. I do you console my mom, give her light support, telling her son's on life support. And just imagine how my girl feel on a plane, scared as hell that I got look like Emmett Till. She was with me before the deal, she been trying to be mine. She a Delta, so she been throwing that dynasty sign. No use be trying to be lying, I've been trying to be signed, trying to be a millionaire. How I used 2 lifelines in the same hospital where Biggie Smalls died. The doctor said I had blood clots, but I ain't Jamaican, man. Story on MTV, and I ain't trying to make a band. I swear this right here is me in the making, man.
The verse is chock full of comedic one-liners, but for me the most impactful are the opening lines, "I drink a boost for breakfast and insure for dessert. Somebody ordered pancakes, I just sip the scissor." Aside from being an extremely clever, funny line, it sets the lighthearted tone that makes Through the Wire so endearing. Kanye isn't constructing some tragic pity party narrative, nor is he over-the-top heroic or masculine about surviving the crash. Mix that comedic tongue-in-cheek with deeply personal references to both his mother's anxiety and his girlfriend's fear of his face being disfigured, we're bound to feel an immediate connection with Kanye. This combination of comedy and relatable honesty is what I believe to be the key of Kanye's early rap success. In the song's second hook, Kanye is self-referential, revealing the circumstances around the song's creation.
Okay, we're gonna stop here. But you guys, I want you to take a look at this paragraph because it's actually, even though there's a typo in here, it's really good analysis. So the topic sentences, the verse is chock full of comedic one-liners. For me, the most impactful are the opening lines. That's a typo. But then he does what I keep telling you guys to do. So he uses a piece of evidence, right? So he uses this piece of evidence here. And then he spends the majority of his paragraph analyzing this. So his analysis is, aside from being an extremely clever, funny line that sets the lighthearted tone that makes Through the Wire so endearing, Kanye isn't constructing some tragic pity party narrative, which is true, nor is he over-the-top heroic or masculine about surviving the crash, odd for him. Mix in a comedic tongue-in-cheek with deeply personal references to both his mother's anxiety and his girlfriend's fear of his face being disfigured. We're bound to feel an immediate connection with Kanye. And then there is the conclusion sentence. So that's a really good example, you guys, of like what I want to see when you're writing these transformation essays that you're going to do after break. So don't worry about it till after break, but you will be doing that. Okay. Yeah, aside, you guys, and I want you to notice, most of the paragraph is the analysis. Sometimes I'm seeing you guys will have like a huge piece of evidence and then like one tiny little sentence of analysis. It should be primarily analysis. Okay. Last thing we're doing, and then you guys are going to be free. So, how does Kanye West transform the original song by Shaka Khan into something new? On your papers, I want you to write this down, and I want you to develop one of the literary devices. You don't have to do them both. This is the last time you get this, Himit. And you guys, the sentence stems are going to be done
Are we
after this.
actually like writing something or just writing like a
No, you're going to write like a mini paragraph.
today?
Yeah. On this piece of paper.
Wait, what? We've been to answer the question.
Oh, you guys filled it out. Let's see.
We're just over
You guys, go ahead and get out a piece of paper and just put your name on it. You can do it.
We're not
No,
just
we don't
doing
have
it, we have to write a whole paragraph.
You have to write a whole paragraph.
Starting with that.
Starting with this.
Oh.
You guys, remember we're working on the thesis because I'm seeing some of those not turning out perfectly. You do not have to use this sentence stem. And they will be going away. I've given you them for the last 3 days. I'm not going to be giving them to you anymore. But remember, you have to address what the theme is and how it's developed. If you don't have those two parts, then you're not going to get your full credit for the thesis. So if this helps you use it, if you are starting to find these a little oppressive and annoying, don't use it. And you only need to focus on one piece of evidence, or one literary device. So what are the biggest literary devices that you guys could talk about? What are they? Metaphor? Great. Metaphor, symbolism, that would be perfect. You only need to develop one of them, Charlotte. I just want to make sure that you have to. And then I would talk about, what other one would you talk about? What else is? That's the big one. You could talk about tone, maybe. She's pretty famous.
Yeah, I did. It just sounds pretty like.
It must be related.
Isn't that everyone? Like, no, everyone.
Really good analysis. Yeah, you're analysis. I mean,
You know, some trick so many people were like,
yeah, but you have to have two in your thesis, but you have three.
Sarah was like cleaner.
Overachievers. Okay. Try.
He killed so many people. Like,
Oh my god, I literally went in his first.
You turned it in.
isn't that true?
You guys, when you finish, please turn this in. And then the last thing you have to do before break is this poetry presentation. So you can get with your partner, or just look over your poem, be ready to present tomorrow.
You have partners?
Some people have partners.
What are the?
Like, how long is my poem have to be?
Yeah, what do you think they are? What are the main ones? You know this, but.
Has he 2 minutes to be by yourself?
So,
4 minutes.
Basically, just change your song from being about a guy and girl.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be.
Being about
which makes a lot of
It's
sense.
not that deep. That's what it is. He just said.
So you could say symbolism, because fire turns into wire.
Is it really?
And then the other thing that I think is noticeable is the tone,
I don't like that.
because it's
He
different.
thinks everything's like brilliant.
He thinks what?
Everything's like so amazing and brilliant.
Kanye does.
Like no, this interviewer, he spent like a whole paragraph talking about how brilliant it was. He changed fire to water.
You're not buying it.
Yeah, or example, yours is really good.
I mean, it's
that's
cool.
fair.
It's cool, but like I don't think he should have done a whole like podcast on how he changed fire to wire and like talked about this.
Well, he also talked a lot about the music, which I thought you would appreciate that.
I would appreciate that if he wasn't just talking about the transformation.
Because he talks about like.
There's better Kanye songs and better samples.
Oh, I think that's such a good idea.
And you can just take the one that it gives you and then change it.
Because that's more of your era.
Unless that guy has never.
That's more of your era of Kanye.
Burn. Wow, burn.
You have to talk about what it's, like, it has to be a literary device. It's a literary device. You're just talking about both literary devices?
Nope, just one.
A metaphor. And then you have to talk about what it
Yeah.
Wait, we need a literary
This should teach
device.
you.
Mine's repetition. Yeah. No, I just like wrote one.
What I'm going to be focusing on when I'm grading these guys is their analysis. I just want to make sure that you're doing mostly analysis.
Can I just do some random literary device for the second one and then only explain? Because we only have to explain one.
Yeah, but it has to be appropriate.
Can I do like
can't say
does
like,
repetition work?
huh?
Does repetition work?
Well,
Or is that only for the first
do they
song?
both use a repetition?
Doesn't he say through the wire a lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then yes.
I just don't have to explain that one.
No, just focus on one. Just focus on one.
Wait, so we should have 2 quotes, right?
Yep.
What? Wait, compare.
Well, because if you're talking about the transformation, you have to show what it was and then what it went to, right?
Can I do symbolism and just?
Yours have been fine. I haven't seen this, but the other ones were.
I've never used one from each of them. I just would use one for one, like 2 for 1. I don't know how we're gonna have this yet. Wait, I need the where's my phone? I need like his lyrics are just like so. I think they're very little messy.
There are a lot of references.
There's other to the wire.
Or just like overcome.
Oh, there we go.
I'll be honored to have a song.
Wait, I don't know. There's no
Yeah, if Olivia Rodrigo wrote a song about me, I would
Where? Ready? See the first one and say or I sped it from the wire.
That's what you kind of fucked up too. Like, they just
No,
put it in
no.
songs about me.
I don't know, it's hard to say, Jude. You can do it in one, but usually you'll have two. Yeah. I can read it if you want. I can make sure. Yeah,
Because I'm doing symbolism and I'm talking about like the title, so this is not title.
that's fine. If you're just referencing those, that's fine.
That's funny. I was at the dentist and they were like, your teeth look like you know, you have business and stuff. And like, gave me some candy. On the counter, 2 days later. Do you ever work for yourself?
Yes, please. Yep.
Tarn's mom was the last nursery.
Yes, please.
So Tarn's mom was one of the ones that yeah, I couldn't see that. I did. Tina wasn't there. So then Tarn,
You're not ready yet?
no, I remember in class 5
Wait,
minutes.
Tarn mom was
She was talking about the other night the other day. Who? I know, really.
Okay, you guys, before, I just want to remind you, so you have your presentations tomorrow. This is going to be a chill day. All you need to do, I don't want you guys stressing about the presentation. All you're going to do is come up here, you're going to present your poem, you'll read your poem, and then you just need to talk about the process. So why did you pick the subject you did? Was it hard? What did you learn about poetry? Did you even think about simile metaphor? Did you happen to have one without thinking about it? I don't know. But you guys, please bring in snacks if you can. I'm going to bring in some stuff, but we're just gonna sit, we're gonna listen, we're gonna have some food. It's gonna be an easy day before break, okay? But be prepared to present.
Hello, ATL. I'm back. So I watched the lesson, and I was a little surprised. I feel as if it went a little better than I felt like it did. So yeah, I'm just gonna kind of go. I was jotting down some notes while I was watching, so this is kind of my takeaways. I think that the lyrics printed off did work well. I noticed when Miss Proud moved the camera around during the lesson and zoomed in on some of the students, which I'm so glad that she did. I saw Wesley taking some notes and some other students writing on their sheets. So they were annotating the lyrics. So I was happy to see that they were doing that. I also think that jotting down the answers during the podcast worked. I noticed that I was kind of zoning out when I was watching it, and then right about when I was feeling like I was kind of bored, I would pause and ask the kids a question. So I think that probably did help them focus. I do, however, think that Pear Deck would have been easier and maybe worked better. So maybe this isn't a lesson where I get rid of the Pear Deck. Maybe that's something positive that I can continue to do from the pandemic. So, yeah, I think if I had had the Pear Deck, I could have seen whose answers were extra insightful or really specific, and I could have called on them. So I think that that could have helped with just like better feedback. The other thing I did notice is I don't think the questions were rigorous enough. I saw on question 2 that I asked which song Kanye sampled from, which we had already listened to the song, so they knew it was Shaka Khan, so they could in essence have completely zoned that out and still got that question right. So probably working on making those a little more rigorous would be good. I do think the song, like the use of media, the song, the podcast, the slides, the lyrics, all that, I think that that worked pretty well actually for so many moving parts. I feel like it seemed a little more seamless than I kind of anticipated or felt when I was in the lesson. I think that my demeanor, as I thought it might be, did seem a little stressed. Yeah, it's really awkward to watch yourself, but I think I probably could have smiled a little more. I don't know if I think that it looked like I was having a great time, but I'm hoping that I normally look a little different, and that was just because it was before spring break, but I'm not sure. So, and then the last thing that I noticed that I need to fix or improve upon is my mastery check. The final paragraph that I was using to assess if they actually took away the objective of the lesson. They did not understand those instructions. And I think the reason was is I had them write a paragraph in which they were talking about how Kanye transformed the words of Shaka Khan using 2 literary devices, but then I only had them explain 1 literary device, which is confusing because I basically was having them practice writing an incomplete paragraph. So I was just trying to do that because they were exhausted and it was before spring break. But I think that me trying to help them and make things easier really didn't make anything easier at all. So yeah, next time they're going to have to write the full paragraph, and I'm going to provide clearer instructions on that. So yeah, some things to improve upon, more rigorous questions, probably bringing Pear Deck back, and then a more clear instruction set for the final paragraph or mastery check. I also noticed I almost always have objectives, and although I have one in my lesson plan, I didn't show the kids. So I need to make sure that I do that because I think that would have made things more clear for them. But yeah, overall, super awkward to watch myself, but I think I got some good takeaways for that. So thanks. Bye.